let's examine factoring by grouping. So grouping is used when I have four terms that don't have common factors. So in this example, we'll see that we have four terms, DF, EF, DG, and EG. And all four of those terms are unique in that none of them have common factors of all four. Because of that, what we want to do is examine them a little bit more carefully. We want to try to group them into smaller sets where maybe we can find a common factor. Okay? So if I look carefully at this set of four terms, we'll notice that the first term and the second term, they both have a common F in them. It's not common to the third and fourth term, but those two terms have something that's in common. I can also see that the first term and the third term have a common D in them. Similarly, in the second term and the fourth term, there's a common E, and in the third and fourth term, there's a common G. Because I can group these things by pairing them up, that indicates to me that perhaps we can take the four terms and pair them together so that there's things that are common. In order to pair things together, what we want to do is we want to group them and separate them from each other. So far what we've talked about is with polynomial addition, brackets don't change the operation, they just work as placeholders. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put two brackets around the first two terms, and then another set of brackets around the third and fourth term. As long as I have addition between the two brackets, that's going to indicate that they're just placeholders. If the addition sign isn't there, that would change this operation to multiplication. So we want to be careful to make sure that this stays as an addition between the first bracket and the second bracket. Okay? Those placeholders then mean that I can take the first bracket and look for something that's common. In the first bracket we said that there was a common F, which I can factor out. And in the second bracket we've seen that there's a common G, so I can take that out as well. Remembering that factoring means dividing, if I factor an F out of the first term and a G out of the second term, I should be left with a binomial in each term. So my first term has an F factored out and I'm left with a D plus E, and my second term has a G that's been factored out and it's also left with a D plus E. So noticing that, we can see that the two terms that are left have a common binomial D plus E. Because that binomial is common to both terms, I can continue to factor and factor out that common binomial. If I factor out that common binomial, I'm dividing both those terms by D plus E, so I'm going to keep that in a bracket. And in a second bracket, I'm going to put what's left over. So dividing means that I'm going to take D plus E outside, and I'll be left with an F plus G. So this leaves me with two binomials being multiplied together, and this is now factored. If I take another example, and I'm going to put in some numbers and variables this time together, I'm going to factor 6x squared plus 15x minus 20x minus 50. Okay? In this example, you'll notice that the third term is negative. So this time when I put in my brackets, we have to be careful. We said that adding means that I can put brackets as placeholders, but subtraction changes signs when they're being redistributed into a bracket. So when I rewrite this, I want to make sure that I have addition between the two brackets, and I'm going to take the negative sign inside the bracket with the 20, and that will leave me with negative 50 as well in the second bracket. So all we're doing is we're still putting our brackets around the first two terms and the third and fourth term, but I'm going to make sure that I have addition between the two brackets, and the signs travel inside the bracket with the terms. Contrary to that, I could also put the negative sign outside. So if I wanted to write this as a subtraction, remember we said that subtraction will then change both of the signs in the bracket that it's next to. So that means that I could have written this as 6x squared plus 15x and written it as a subtraction, but then the two terms that are inside the second bracket would then have to change from two negatives into two positive terms. Both of those signs need to change. Okay? So either of those is correct. You can choose either one, whichever one is easier for you to remember. And then we're going to look for common factors like we did before. So in the first bracket, we can see that there's a common 3x that can be taken out. And in the second bracket, I can take out from 20 and 50, there's a common factor of 10. If I go back to the previous line, we'll notice that if we hadn't taken out the negative, negative 20 and negative 50 have a common factor of negative 10. So either way, we would have come to the same result, where I take 3x out of the first bracket, and I'm left with 2x plus 5. And then negative 10 is common to the second bracket, which will still leave me with a positive 2x plus 5. Okay? In this example, you'll notice that that binomial should be the same as long as we've grouped it together. And in the two terms, I have a common 2x plus 5, which I can take out and factor to be left with 3x minus 10.